This is Gemara in Kiddushin, Daf Chaf Zayin. We're holding on the bottom of Chavavam Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. And today's shir and all the shurim for the month of Elul has been generously sponsored as an incredible Schos Aliyas Nishama for Esther Rezel Basar Ameir B'Siyata Dishmaya. The learning of the entire Chabura day in and day out, each and every word of Torah of the Daf should bring Esther Rezel Basar Ameir to a higher in place in Gan Eden Shel Maila. And we're in the middle of discussing, we're 2 lines from the bottom, Tashima, incorrect. We are not 2 lines from the bottom, Tashima. We are 3 lines from the bottom, Tashima, on Chavavam Beis. As the Gemara tries to answer the question that we began yesterday, which is that when someone is being makneh, when someone is being koineh, movable properties, mitaltlin, together with karka, do those movable properties have to be within Siburim piled up on that karka or not? Tashema, says the Gemara, Ma'aseh Rabbi Gamliel Zekenim. We have a story with Rabbi Gamliel and the Zekenim Sheyabayim B'Sfina. They're coming on a boat. Amr Lehem Rabbi Gamliel Zekenim. Rabbi Gamliel tells the Zekenim, Ishu Isur, the 10%. Shani Asi Lamod. That in the future, I'm going to estimate and take off Ma'aser as we turn over to Chav Zayin Amid Aleph Nasan Loi Yeshua. That Easter, that 10% should be given to Yehoshua. Who is this Yehoshua? Rashi Kiza saying this is Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, whom we find in Gemara and Erech and Ma'aser Yeshua Chanina Shalach L'Seyes Rabbi Yechim in Good Gedah to close the doors. Chazar b'cha sha'ata min ha'mishayrarim and min ha'shay'arim. So what do we see, says Rashi on the 4th line of this Amud? We see clearly that he was a Levi. He was from the Mishayrim, and the question was he from the gatekeepers? Was he from he who played the instruments? But clearly, Yeshua or Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya was a Levi. So he gave him 10%. Umekaimai, and the place of where the Meiser is, Muschar Lohi, should be rented to him. Ve'isur acher shani asid lamot, and another 10% that I'm going to take off, which now this is going to be Meiser Ani. Nasan loitohum Akiva ben Yosef. Why Akiva ben Yosef? Kedei sheyizku bayaniyim, so that he could be Zaycha, he could acquire it on behalf of the Aniyim. Umekaimai, and its place is Muschar Lahi, should be rented out to him. So what do we see from this price? We see that the item that you're being makneh, the item that the person wants to be kaineh, has to be piled up in the land. Why? Because we see that he was Mekaimai Moschar Loi. He rented the place. Clearly, why? So that the item is in the land that he is giving over. Says the Gemara, no Raya, shiny, awesome. The reason he did over there is Keichadzol Terchenu. He did it so that it is not a bother. He don't want to bother both Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya to have to remove the items as soon as they got home. So he says, you own the area, take it out whenever you want, but it's not necessarily proving whether the item has to be within the land or not. Tashema continues the Gemara, 5 lines down. Amar Rava bar Yitzchak, Amar Rav, Shnei Shtaroisein. Says Rava bar Yitzchak, there are 2 types of shtarois when it comes to sales. Zacha b'sada zu leploini. Zacha b'sada zu leploini. If the person says, take possession of this field for ploini, for someone else. V'kosle says shtar, and he writes a mishtar. What's halacha? Chayzer b'shtar. He could back out of the shtar, but v'inu chayzer b'sada. The field is still owned by him. Once they take possession of the field, it is his. Continues the Gemara. If he says, I'm giving you, you're being koineh for that person on condition that I write a shtar, then then the whole acquisition of the Sada was contingent on the Shtar, and therefore he can be Chayzer in both of them. Part A of the Braisa. Continues the Gemara. Rav Chia bar Ravin Amar Rav Yehuna Shloisha Shtarois Hein. There are 3 rules with regarding to Shtarois. Trey. The first 2 Hadamar, like we just said a moment ago, that whether you could back out depends upon the way that you formulated the original sale. Idach, what's the other? Im kadam moicha v'kasav lo yisashtar. Ka'isa shashaninu, like if the moicher comes and writes a shtar. Like that which we learned. That which we learned, Ka'isa shtar lo moicher, aval bishin l'gechi mai. We're able to write a shtar for the seller. We learned in the Mishnah, even if the buyer is not there. Then in such a scenario, Kivan shehechzik imay bikarka. Then as soon as the buyer takes possession of the karka from the seller, nikne shtar b'chol makom shehu. He's kind of the shtar wherever it is, and then the seller can no longer retract. So 2 parts of this brisa: Tanakama with 2 dinim, Rav Chia bar Avin with a 3rd, and proves the Gemara Shema Mina. So what do we see from this brisa? What do we see from Rav Chia bar Avin, who says that the shtar is a nikna b'chol makom shehu? Wherever that shtar is, even if it's not on the land, we see that the metaltalin, the shtar, is a koina, even if it's not in the field itself. Says the Gemara, shiny shtar. A shtar is different. Afsira da'arahu. A shtar is different. Why? Because it's the afsira of the ara. What does that mean? It's like the halter, the bit of the animal. It's that which pulls together the animal. So since the shtar is the way you have ownership of the land, therefore it's automatically considered like it's inside the land, even if it isn't. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? You're telling me that this case is different. Why is this case different? Because the shtar is the means to be kind of the land. But we learned on it, Zui Sheshaninu, this is what we learned. Nechasim she'la machrayis. Nikdim in nechasim she'ishla machrayis. Because shtar v'chazaka. This is it indeed. Shema mina. Therefore, from here we have a raya. Lo be'inan tziburim. Shema mina. And the Gemara concludes that this is indeed a raya. And we continue with a new piece of Gemara. Ibayilahu. Says the Gemara, let's delve a bit deeper into this halacha of the kinyan of agav. Mi be'inan agav oilai. What is the halacha? Do you have to say explicitly that the way that you're formulating this kinyan on the metaltalin is due to agav, or not? Tashema, says the Gemara, Dikatani kolani, v'lokadani agav. The Mishnah never listed agav. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? Kini mikatani, say you have to be a kinyan. Ela'ad amar kini, just like you have to say kini. Achanami ad amar agav. The Elchasa says the Gemara, Siburin loibin an agav, but ukini ba'inan. You don't need to say that it's a kinyan agav, but you do have to say kini. And it continues the Gemara at the 2 dots, where approximately 20 lines on the bottom, Ibayilahu with another shayla. Sadeh b'mecher u'metaltlin b'matana mahu. What is the halacha for splitting it? You're selling a field, and I'm giving you also my watch. I'm giving you metaltalin. In such a scenario, can the acquisition on the field, which is a mecher, work to as well be a kinyan on the metaltalin? Tashema, says the Gemara, Easter, the case we quoted, Shani Asad Lamud, Nasli Yashom, Kamu Masr Lai. So what do we see? Shema Mina. We see that even in this scenario, that the field is sold, and when he sells the field, there's a kinyan on the metaltalin as a matana. Ibayilu, another shayla, I think number 4 of the day. What if there's kinyanim to do different people? Tashima says the Gemara, Yisr Shani Asid Lam and Asid Akiva ben Yosef. And why is Akiva ben Yosef acquiring them? Not for himself, but rather K'deshi Yiske by Le'aniyem U'Mekayim Muschar Lai. My Muschar, Muschar L'Maiser. So we see again a raya. Iba Yisema no Shani Rav Akiva Diyad Aniyem Hu. Says the Gemara, and this is a fascinating concept that we find with regard to a Gizbar, with regard to a Gabe Staka, that he might be considered an extension of the Aniyim. And even though seemingly he's being kind of on their behalf, so that would seemingly be a raya that if the one person is a sale and one person is matana, we could do it. Says the Gemara, not so close, not so simple, because Rabbi Akiva might have a higher status of being the hand of the Aniyim. Amar Rava Laishanu, says Rava, let's qualify a little bit what's going on over here in the case that you're acquiring the metallic and the movable properties, agav, together with the land. Laishanu ala shenasan demei kulan. The case is that you paid for everything. Avalon asla demei kulan, laikanu, you can have a kinyan before you actually paid. Ella kinegin ma'isaf, then you're only kaina that which you paid for. Tanya Kvasi the Rava, let's bring a raya. Yavakoicha kesef mikoyach ashtar. Says the Braisa, kesef cash is greater than ashtar. Vikoyach ashtar is mikoyach kesef, and there's an entity that ashtar is greater. Yavakoyach kesef shakesef poidin boy hekdei shois. Kesef is greater. Why? Because kesef is utilized to be redeeming hekdesh. Umaiser sheni mashingim ashtar. Shtar can't be utilized for that. But you have a kefach ashtar moitzi bebas achaz v'shenkin bekesef. Continues the Braisa. V'yafe koyach shneyem mikoyach chazaka shtar and kesef. 5 lines on the bottom of Chav Zayin Amar Aleph are greater than chazaka. How? V'koyach chazaka mikoyach shneyem. Yav v'koyach shneyem mishneyem. Why? Koinim be'avin every. Mashenkin bechazaka. Yav v'koyach chazaka shechazaka marchol yeser sadois be'eser medinois. Kiv shechzak v'achaz ve'em kana kulam. End of the Braisa. Now, as we turn over to Chav Zayin Amud Beis, explains the Gemara, what is the case that we are discussing? This final din when you're going at 10 different fields in 10 different areas. What is this case? Says the Braisa explicitly, Shenosan loy demei kulan. The case is that you paid for all of it. Aval, however, Loi nasan loi demei kulan, loi kana ella kenegen ma'isav, and therefore there is a raya. There's where we see that you have to actually pay for the whole thing, and if you do not pay for the whole thing, you're not going to be able to make a kinyan. And continues the Gemara, Chav Zayin Amud Beis, with a raya to Shmuel. A raya to Shmuel, misayeh alei l'Shmuel. Again, Chav Zayin Amud Beis, we are on the 3rd line. Misayeh lei l'Shmuel. What's the raya? Amar Shmuel. 4 lines down. Marchles esadas be'eser medinois. Kim she'echzei b'achas mehen kanes kulam. You can know all of them. And Amar Rav Acha b'reid Ravi kateid. I'll bring you a proof. She'ilu masar lo yeser be'hei mois b'afsarecha. Let's you give over 10 animals in 1 halter and 1 reins. And you said, Kini, Miloi Kini, would you not make a kinyan? So similarly, the same thing will be over here when you make a kinyan on 1 field. So too says the Gemara, will be the same thing. Why? Because all lands are some level of sensibly connected. Amar Lei, says the Gemara, what's the raya? Mi dami asa mi guda biyadai. You grab the reins, you're holding all the animals. Hacha eini guda biyadai. They might be considered touching at some level, but they're not bound together in your hand. Ikadiyamri, a second lashon Amar Rav Acha, Bred Rav Ika Teida, I'll bring your raya. Deloi kani. What's the raya? It says Gemara, no raya, midami azam guva mechulak, the separate entities. Hacham sadna da'ara chadu, they're all considered at some level one entity. So regarding which lashon you're going, whether we thought it was a raya or whether we thought the same case is not a raya. We continue smack in the middle of Chav Zayin Amud Beis. V'zaykikin es hanechasim sheyesh lam achrayis. b'shvua. With regard to a shvua, if someone has to make a shvua on a karka, we can thereby allow him to make a shvua on other items as well. So says the Gemara, what's this called? Amar Ula, from where do we know? Minayin ligilgul shvua min ha-Torah. The fascinating concept of Gilgul Shvua. What's Gilgul? Gilgul means to roll. That we're rolling a Shvua from entity A onto entity B. That we are rolling a Shvua from the Karka onto other things. How do we know that on the Darais, on the biblical level? Says Ula Shenamar. V'amra Isha Amein Amein. Now what does that mean? This is by Saito Tanan Almayi Amaris Amein Amein. Amein ala Allah Amein ala Shvua. Amein imi ish zeh, amein imi ish acher. Amein shalai satisi arusa v'nesu. I did not do anything wrong, neither during ears and on his suin shemeres yavan kunusa. Hi arusa echidami. What's the case of arusa? Elem adekani like she arusa. Kamashki leg she arusa. That what? The whole case of Saita happened while she's arusa. It can't be. V'atina and arusa v'shemeres yavan lo shaslana les ksuba. There's no din of Saita for an arusa. My time, because the passing by Saita says these are gemaras that we learned together in Saita. Tachas ishech amar Rachman. Has to be your ishech. Has to be your spouse. V'leka. Hello, what's the case? The Kani La, you warned her because she arusa. V'nistra because she had arusa, and she was secluded during Eresin. Kamashki La, and when she drinking, she nesua. Says the Gemara, that can't be either. Mi batkala mayim, would it work? It would not work. Why would it not work? And the only time we have the waters of the site are when bisman sha'ish. Menuka me'avain mayim baitkin. Only if the man is clean from sin, which means he wasn't together with his wife yet. As ishtay. Ein isha menuka as av. Ein ish menuka as avain. Ein mayim baitkin as ishtay. So says the Gemara. So what does it mean that she has to make a shavua both on nisua and on erisin and on shemeres yavan? It can't be a saita in some cases. Elas, you know what the raya is? Concludes the Gemara al yedei gilgul shvua. This is our raya, the gilgul, that it must be that the only way we're making her swear is via a gilgul, that is a shvu on A, and we roll it on to B. But says the Gemara, not so simple. Ashkechan saita de isura mimayna minala, and saita's iser. So by iser we find the concept of gilgul shvua. How do we know the same entity will apply by mammon? We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up from here. B'siyata shemaya in the next shir.